Hello and welcome to Not Now in Theaters. My name is Will Turntail and I'm a writer and a film fan from California. For this week's episode, we're going to dive into a movie called The Shooting. It's a 1966 Criterion collection pick that went under the radar with audiences but was well received by critics, at least those who saw it. While the movie is a Western, it's not the type that you're used to. Film critic Jonathan Rosenbaum called it the first, quote, acid Western, which we'll get more into, but I think the name speaks for itself. Oh, and it has some guy named Jack Nicholson in it who absolutely shows up here. Before we start, a reminder that making films is hard and you have to respect that, so any criticisms are meant to be constructive. This review will contain spoilers, and I'll do my best to call them out for you as they come up. I have to say, this review is loaded with more spoilers than most of mine, so maybe you want to go watch this movie before listening to this episode if you're concerned about that. I think the mystery of what's going to happen is important to keep the tension in this movie, so I'd recommend that. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into it. The Shooting 1966 review, Young Jack Nicholson and the First Acid Western. The Shooting is a hazy journey across the desert and a psychotropic trip into the unknown crevices of the mind. Well, maybe. Film critic Jonathan Rosenbaum labeled it the first acid Western, calling it an inspiration for films like Jim Jarmusch's classic Dead Man. And if you haven't seen Dead Man, well, it's one I need to revisit and we'll probably do an episode on at some point because it is weird yet captivating. But getting back to The Shooting, while there are the usual Western pieces, self-reliance in the face of lawlessness, pistols for defense, and dusty mountains and valleys, the white hat versus black hat simplicity of the genre is intact, but interfered with by a sputtering, existential signal. But don't worry, this is all straightforward and badass, rather than hippy-dippy and confusing. Directed by Monte Hellman and produced by Hellman and Jack Nicholson, The Shooting was barely shown in theaters and rarely featured on television. But the movie's acclaim has kept its flame alive. The film was well received by critics at the time. It currently boasts an impressive 100% score from 21 critical reviews on Rotten Tomatoes at the time of writing. Admittedly, audiences clock in at a still solid but less noteworthy 65%. The great low-budget king, Roger Corman, financed the movie, going as the uncredited executive producer. And if you know Roger Corman, the $75,000 budget for The Shooting, even low in 1960s dollars, shouldn't surprise you. It's reported that the production crew was just 7 people strong. Even if that group was its own magnificent 7, that's a lot of lifting for a small but mighty team. Shooting was impacted by near constant rain on the first 2 days, with flooding impacting locations. These delays ate up $5,000 of the already thin budget, and then another $10,000 fell out for the horse wranglers' salaries. Corman had made the deal with Hellman and Nicholson under the stipulation that if the film went over budget, they'd have to pay the costs out of their own pockets. This created tension. Hellman and Nicholson reportedly often argued about minor budgetary concerns. Yet despite all these setbacks, the movie came in at the original budget estimate and brought in those rave reviews. But after nearly 60 years, can this movie hold up? Let's find out. So is The Shooting a good movie? The plot of The Shooting: Willett Gashade returns to his mining camp. He finds a grave for one of his partners, Leland Drum. His good friend Coley is in a state of panic. Coley explains that Leland was shot and killed and that Gashade's brother, Coyne, fled the camp moments before Leland's death. They speculate that the killing may have been a revenge for an accidental trampling in a nearby town. The next day, a mysterious young woman appears at the camp, offering a hefty sum for Gashade to lead her to an area called Kingsley. When Gashade reluctantly accepts, a journey begins. All the while, Gashade wonders just what the hell he's gotten himself into and what the woman is after. Will Gashade and Coley survive the journey? And to take you through the cast here, Willett Gashade is played by the great Warren Oates. Coley is played by Will Hutchins. Millie Perkins plays the young woman. And of course, Jack Nicholson plays Billy Spear. And you can read the rest of the main cast here in the transcript. And just a note, if you'd like to see a trailer for the shooting, I put a YouTube link to one at the bottom of this transcript in the, quote, links in this episode section. I have to warn you, though, the trailer is lower picture quality than the film and isn't the best representation of its atmosphere. But I must include something so that you get an idea of what the movie is like. So there you go. So now that you understand the plot, let's talk about what's good about the shooting. The first good thing we'll call Into the Desert, Into the Void, and it is worth 8 points. And just to let you know again, there are a lot of spoilers in this section. The movie's plot is simple, but its layers run deep. We don't know what the woman is after, but we can speculate that it might have to do with Coin, who has fled. But who is she? And why will she say nothing? Gashade accepts her bribe, presumably because it's too much money to turn down. He decides to bring Coley with him, though you feel he may have reservations about getting his not-so-bright pal involved. Once Gashade suspects that the woman is signaling Billy Spear, he must know that things are going wrong, but he's already in too deep to do anything about it. And there's a boiling tension in a small group. Billy repeatedly threatens to kill Gashade and Coley. The woman won't say where they're going. The horses are beginning to sag. The water is running out. They're getting closer to their target, and Gashade doesn't want any killing. It's a tense walk bristling with the anticipation of violence and a simmering sense of unreality. But that's all the surface level plot points. Underneath it, you wonder what this film is saying, intentionally or unintentionally. And it's the magic between these layers that excites. Here we have a man journeying to the point of near death to bring someone to kill his own brother. At what point does Gashade realize that that's the game here? It can't just be at the finale. He tells Coley to arm himself as early as Crosstree. But it's like this journey has to happen, like Gashade has stepped into some kind of awful destiny. The woman is like a Grim Reaper or agent of fate, like the devil with Billy Spear, her minion. And there's the man they find with the broken leg in the sand. We don't even hear him talk, but he tells the woman where to go. It's almost David Lynchian by that point. What is this all about? What is happening? It doesn't truly matter. The film can walk a delicate line, be open to interpretation without being pretentious, making sense literally while evoking an air of mythos. That's difficult to do, and you have to take your hat off to it. Next, let me tell you about the all-natural cinematics, which is worth another 4 points. Thanks to the film's low budget and a creative decision, the movie was shot with existing desert light. And oh boy, do we get some sights. Rather than a limitation, going all natural enabled some wonderful work here. Even if you've seen many a Western, you'll still be impressed. There are dusty dusks on the open Utah desert, the riders in the background as the light dims. And the hot sun and barren landscape are ever tangible. This shot of Billy Spear, which you can find with the links in this episode section, continues to capture the magic of golden hour lighting. His face is bronzed in the sun, giving the gunslinger a majestic glaze. And there are some brilliant moments like Gashade and Coley anticipating the woman's arrival, followed by her specter-like appearance just off the horizon. And now let's talk about the grit in the performances, which adds 6 points. Jack Nicholson's aptly named Billy Spear immediately unnerves you. It's the way Nicholson smiles mischievously as he boasts about killing, or the cold manner and stare when he whips his pistol out of his holster and points it at Gashade to demonstrate his speed. Spear is just cold-blooded about the whole thing. Millie Perkins, as the woman, never drops her detached and determined demeanor, but we can subtly see that she's putting on a stronger face than she feels behind it. When she's aiming her pistol, we see she's unpracticed in aiming to kill, not fluid like Spear. Warren Oates, as Gashade, reminds me of a Bogart in a 1940s noir. He's been around the West a few times and knows the angles people want to play, but he still can't help but get mixed up in things, even against his better judgment. His calm face, even in the face of impending trouble, shows you his experience. Then there's Will Hutchins, not quite, but getting close to hapless as Coley. While Coley's childlike nature bugged me at first, in danger of being overplayed, It is helpful because of the contrast it makes with Gas Shade. Since it doesn't drop into the slapstick, the hammy stuff at play works. And we have to talk about the film's climax, which is another 3 points. Again, some very heavy spoilers here as I give away the end of the movie, so if you don't want to hear that, use the chapter skip. The spirited tension that it has carried us to the climax all breaks like a dam, and it's brilliant. Gas Shade, the woman, and Spear are plodding through the desert on foot. They've paid a hell of a price to get here. Coley's dead. Their 3 horses, dead. And if they don't turn back, I wonder if they, too, will perish from heat exhaustion. But they press on. And Gas Shade, seizing the moment, tackles Spear. He renders his shooting hand useless with the rock. But this is the moment the film crosses farther into the potentially crazy. We don't entirely know how things end. Gas Shade is unable to stop the woman from shooting Coin, we think, because Gas Shade utters his name softly after she fires Coin. The words roll gently, remorsefully off his lips. It's a crap impression from me, but you get the idea. It's almost dreamlike, especially as we see that Coin is the spitting image of Willett Gas Shade. And the woman, we don't know if Coin hit her with a bullet, if she's lived or died. This murkiness should be frustrating, but it's absorbing. Why did Gas Shade take up this quest? At what point did he know he was leading this woman right to his brother? And is his brother, who looks exactly like him, really there, or is he some kind of representation of Gas Shade? It works on a literal or figurative level. And while I think this is a straight literal movie, for all you know, it's Gas Shade's nightmare played out. When you think about the man with the broken leg, who just sits there nearly unconscious and almost unintelligible, he speaks so softly, the painful dragging way in which Gas Shade buries poor Coley, and the blurry wandering through the desert, you have to wonder if reality has been fiddled with or not. So there were a couple of things about this movie that I didn't quite like. First, we have to mention the dim sounds, which takes away 2 points. The audio for the film, at least in the version I streamed on Max, is not so hot. It's an old, low-budget movie. This happens. And with names like Willett, Coley, and Coin, you're not dealing with everyday titles and jargon. None of that is going to make this easy to follow. You can't say the sound design is impressive either. But these factors don't hit the movie that hard. I overcame the language with some subtitles, and that helped me keep things straight. And since it's not a war epic or straight action film, you can let the underwhelming sounds go. Next, let's call this negative whoops on the action, which takes away a point. There is a fist fight in the film where the illusion isn't sold. Punches aren't even close to landing, and it took me a bit out of the movie, right in a pivotal moment of tension. But even many people's greatest film ever, The Godfather, has the same problem. When Santino beats up Carlo, yeah, those punches are clear whiffs, if you know the scene I'm talking about. So great works aren't ruined that easily. When I add everything up, the shooting gets 18 points. On my scale of let's not watch this movie, should I watch this movie, or go watch this movie, I'm gonna give the shooting my go watch rating. Despite its action-inducing title, the shooting is a suspenseful trip through the desert sands, or perhaps the grains of the mind. It can be seen as an exciting story on the surface, or a thought-provoking metaphor or exploration. Ambiguity can be frustrating, but here it's more fun to try to fill in the symbolic gaps. The audio and a fight scene or two lack the polish, but they aren't big enough factors to keep you away. I recommend the shooting for anyone with the patience for an older but slick western suspense tale, especially fans of Dead Man or acid westerns. The legacy of the shooting. So what is the legacy of the shooting? Well, despite lacking a widespread theatrical release, at least in America, the film has endured. It is said critics call it the first acid western, or the movie that gave birth to the modern anti-western. And if you don't know what anti-western means, I think that's just another term for revisionist western, going against the old tropes of the genre instead of using them. Thanks to this praise and appeal, no doubt, you'll find the movie in the prestigious Criterion collection, which for me is the ultimate rubber stamp of a good film. and that further cements its status as a cult classic. The shooting did a lot for director Monte Hellman's critical reputation. It is said online that this movie helped establish his reputation for a minimalist, existential storytelling style, and that his roads to nowhere aesthetic emerged, which he later used in films like Two-Lane Blacktop, another one I'm eager to watch at some point. The movie was shot back-to-back with Western Ride in the Whirlwind, which also returned Hellman as director with Jack Nicholson and Millie Perkins in the cast. I haven't seen Whirlwind yet either, but I'm sure I'll tackle it at some point. Director Monte Hellman is best known for this film, Ride in the Whirlwind, and Two-Lane Blacktop. His career spanned a long time, with credits dating back to 1959 and continuing through 2013. And one of the lesser-known things he did? He served as an uncredited second-unit director on RoboCop, directing several action scenes. I'm not going to bother talking about Jack Nicholson's career at large because you probably know enough about him, but it is said that his turn in this film as Billy Spear, a gunman, was a notable role in his early films. I think this was his 13th movie role already, though. Millie Perkins, who played the woman, is best known for The Shooting and Ride in the Whirlwind, as well as her debut film role as Anne Frank in The Diary of Anne Frank. She's retired, but her credits also span a long way, from 1959 all the way to 2006. Warren Oates, who played Willett Gashade, is well known for his roles in Sam Peckinpah movies, such as The Wild Bunch. He's also in films like In the Heat of the Night and Hellman's Two-Lane Blacktop. I always think of Warren Oates as that incredibly cocky John Dillinger in that 1970s movie Dillinger about the arch criminal and his gang. I watched that movie in the early 2000s, right around the time of Dave Chappelle's Show. All I could think was if that movie were made now, they definitely would have inserted the line, "I'm John Dillinger, bitch." Sadly, Oates only lived to 53 years old, dying in 1982. But he's a bit of a legend, mainly because of those Peckinpah movies and work with Hellman. Will Hutchins, who played Coley, was best known for his appearances on a Western TV show called Sugarfoot. He seemed to appear in various famous Western shows, including Maverick and Gunsmoke. A funny thing, in the movie, Gashade repeatedly says he won't fall for the woman's flirting like Coley does. But in real life, Warren Oates' biography says he had a crush on Millie Perkins. So there you go. Okay, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't seen it yet, I hope you'll check out The Shooting. And if you have seen it, what do you think of the movie? Just what the hell is happening here? You can reach out and let me know on Blue Sky using the link in the transcript, or just search for Will Turntail. And if you liked this episode, would you take a minute or two of your time to leave me a review wherever you're listening from? It's a one-man operation here, so a review would really help me out, and I'd love to hear what you think of the show. Or if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. New episodes of this podcast come out on Tuesdays. Next week's episode will be Silverado, the 1985 Lawrence Kasdan written and directed Western, which is about the polar opposite of this movie, even if they're in the same genre, because while The Shooting is a, quote, anti-Western, Silverado is like the ultimate pro-Western, I guess you could say. Silverado is much more a good times, throwback, love letter to the old Westerns, doing all the cliches audiences loved sort of thing. But it's a fun movie with an excellent cast, and there are one or two characters in it that are brilliant, with a relationship between them that you would absolutely not typically see, and I can't wait to talk about that with you. That's thanks to Kasdan and his brother Mark's writing, which if you don't know, Lawrence Kasdan is the co-writer of screenplays for The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and solo writer for Raiders of the Lost Ark for a start. So it's worth talking about Silverado for sure. I know that means two Westerns back to back, but I'm writing for a film contest right now, and my idea is a Western, so I'm watching a number of films from that genre at the moment, and that's what I have to pick from. But the episode after will be something else. This podcast episode is production copyright of Overegged Media, LLC, located in Sacramento, California. Reference photos linked in the transcript are copyrighted by the Internet Movie Database. This review's factual information was gathered through online sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, or interviews. Misrepresentations and errors are possible, but unintentional. Introduction music, Neon Laser Horizon by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. And the exit music, additional music, and exit music and additional music, were also by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, also licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license, and those titles are Voxel Revolution, Waltz Primordial, and Aerosol of My Love. Goodbye for now.